The Nintendo Entertainment System is a legendary home video game platform that was introduced in the 1980s. It was one of the first popular home video game consoles and had a library of over 700 titles. In this video, we will list down the 50 top NES games on mobile from our perspective.
Balloon Fight is an action video game released by Nintendo that was developed by Nintendo and HAL Laboratory. The original arcade version was published globally as Versus Balloon Fight on the Nintendo VS system, while its Nintendo Entertainment System equivalent was released in Japan in 1985 and internationally in 1986. The gameplay is reminiscent to Williams Electronics' 1982 game Joust. The home Nintendo Entertainment System version was released in October 1985 for the NEC PC-8801 and November 1985 for the Sharp-X1. Balloon Fighty for the e-reader was released on the Game Boy Advance in the United States on September 16, 2002, and as part of the Famicom miniseries in Japan on May 21, 2004. It was later reissued via Nintendo's Virtual Console and the NES Classic Edition. It was launched in 2018 for Nintendo Switch Online. Batman: Return of the Joker is a 1991 platform video game, the follow-up to Sunsoft's first Batman game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Unlike that game, which was based on the 1989 Batman film directed by Tim Burton, Return of the Joker is entirely self-contained and based more on the modern comic book iteration of Batman. However, Batman rides the Batmobile and the Batwing from the 1989 film. A remake of Return of the Joker, titled Batman: Revenge of the Joker, was released on the Sega Genesis by Ringler Studios in 1992. A Super NES version of Revenge of the Joker was completed but never officially released. However, a ROM image surfaced online in later years. Bomberman, also known as Dynablaster in Europe, is a video game brand created by Hudson Soft and now owned by Konami. The original game, also known as Bikuda no Toko, was launched in Japan in July 1983 and has since inspired countless sequels and spin-offs, as well as several anime and manga adaptations. The series had sold over 10 million copies as of 2002. Amazing Bomberman, the most recent incarnation, was launched on Apple Arcade on August 5, 2022. Circus Charlie is an action game that was first released in arcades by Konami in 1984. In 6 separate circus-themed mini-games, the player controls a circus clown named Charlie. It was launched on the MSX the same year, with SoftPro porting it to the Famicom in 1986 and the Commodore 64 in 1987. Charlie must finish 6 conventional stages plus 1 additional stage with varying duties in the game. Charlie points are earned by grabbing money bags, executing daring acts, dodging monsters, completing stages, and so forth. After completing the 6th stage, the game restarts at a quicker pace and with more challenging but same in terms of job completion stages. Contra is a run-and-gun shooter video game created and published by Konami. It was first launched in 1986 as a coin-operated arcade game and was released on February 20, 1987. In 1988, a home version for the Nintendo Entertainment System was published, along with ports for numerous home computer systems, including the 2 German marks. In Europe, the arcade and computer versions were dubbed Grizzer, while the NES version was dubbed Probotector. Contra features a number of playing views, including a regular side view, a pseudo-3D view in which the player advances by shooting and advancing towards the backdrop, rather than left or right, and a fixed screen style in which the player has their gun aimed upwards by default.
Oh yeah!
Shigeru Miyamoto invented the Donkey Kong video game series, which is now owned by Nintendo. It recounts the exploits of a gorilla named Donkey Kong and his ape and monkey tribe. Platform games dominate the brand, beginning with single-screen action puzzle games and progressing to side-scrolling platformers. The first game was Donkey Kong, an arcade game released in 1981 that featured the titular character as the main enemy in an industrial construction scene, and marked the debut of both the Donkey Kong and Mario characters. The game was a huge success, and 2 sequels were launched in 1982 and 1983. The brand was rebooted in 1994 with the platformer Donkey Kong Country, in which Donkey Kong is pitted against a slew of anthropomorphic foes, most notably the Kremlings, a crocodile tribe commanded by King K. Rool, who has stolen the Kong's banana hoard. Double Dragon is a beat-em-up video game series created by Tekken's Japan and first published in 1987 as an arcade game. Billy and Jimmy Lee, twin martial artists, battle numerous foes and competitors in the series. The original Double Dragon was the smash blockbuster arcade game, ushering in a golden age for the beat-em-up genre, which followed the conventions established by Double Dragon. Because of the popularity of the game, a 1993 animated series was produced, followed by a 1994 live-action picture adaptation. This adaptation was panned by critics and punters. Nintendo developed and released Excite Bike, a motocross racing video game. In Japan, it was launched for the Famicom in 1984, and later that year, it was adapted to arcades as Versus Excite Bike for the Nintendo Versus system. It was first launched in arcades in North America in 1985, and then as a launch game for the Nintendo Entertainment System later that year, becoming one of the console's best-selling titles. The Excite series begins with this game. Shigeru Miyamoto designed and directed the smooth side-scrolling game engine his team created for Excite Bike, which was eventually utilized to create Super Mario Bros. The Astyanax, also known as the Lord of King in Japan, is a side-scrolling action game created by ICOM and published by Jaleco for arcades. A year after the arcade version, a home version for the Nintendo Entertainment System, simply dubbed Astyanax, was published. Astyanax's arcade version is based in a fantastical realm filled with mythological monsters from Greek and Arab mythology. Konami created Yar Kung Fu, an arcade fighting game. It was initially released in Japan in limited quantities in October 1984, then countrywide in January 1985, and globally in March 1985. It is one of the games that laid the foundation for current fighting games, along with Karate Champ 1984, which influenced Yar Kung Fu. The game was inspired by Bruce Lee's Hong Kong martial arts flicks, and the main character, Oolong, was modeled after Lee-like Bruce exploitation films. In contrast to Karate Champ's grounded realism, Yar Kung Fu shifted the genre toward more fantasy, fast-paced action, with numerous characters possessing a range of special abilities and high leaps, laying the groundwork for following fighting games.